Hello and welcome to Pillbox Airsoft. My name's Harvey. I'm an airsoft beginner, pretty new to the whole thing. Got a few things under my belt. I played a few games and stuff like that, but I'm quite new to buying my gear. Only recently I've had my own gun and kit. Looking to go and play soon in the next coming up months after COVID. Lockdown has eased and we can go and friggin' play again. Today we're going to be talking about choosing your first gun. I think like starting airsoft generally and some kind of the gear that you'll want to pick up as alongside your first gun. So before you get your greasy, filthy, dirty gamer mitts all over your brand new gap piece, one thing I'd definitely recommend that you try is actually going to play airsoft, because it's not for everyone. There's quite a bit running around and quite a lot of being shot. And if you don't like being shot or running around, you may not like it. So what I'd recommend you do first is find out where your nearest site is, book a game, go with some mates that's a good laugh, and hire some kit. So you don't own any of the kit, you just borrow kit from there. They'll give you guns, ammo, protection, all the stuff that you need to have a good day's airsoft. The guns that they normally give you will be decent quality. When I went and rented kit, I got G&G combat machines, awesome guns, perfectly serviceable, will do anything you need really. But yeah, definitely would recommend that you actually go and try playing the game before you buy any kit, just so you don't waste any money. Second thing is, you see me looking down, I've got some notes, so just bear with me. Second thing is, I'd recommend you save some money, because airsofting isn't the cheapest sport in the world. It's not horribly expensive, but I'd recommend saving some money. Just have a little fund pot that you can chuck some money in every month. I'd probably say to save about 150, well probably more than that actually. I think you should really aim to save up to about £170. I'll add some conversions to Monopoly money or sexual favours on the screen now for you. So if you've been to play a few games and you enjoy running around and being shot with little plastic balls, and you're like, I really like being shot with plastic balls, please shoot me some more with some plastic balls. Sounds like you're beginning to enjoy airsoft, so you might be looking at getting your first gun. Now if you're anything like me, you like your money to be in your bank account and not away, so you'll want to spend as little money as you can get away with, but you also want something to be effective. You don't want to buy a piece of rubbish essentially, so you'll want to do some looking around and make sure you get something that's cheap but also cost effective and highly effective. Oh yeah! One thing that you probably shouldn't buy is something that's too cheap. Something like this. This is a Black Viper G36C, or something I've lovingly dubbed the Xbox Crystal G36, because obviously it has been painted in a clear paint scheme, much like the Xbox Crystal, which you'll remember if you're bigly old like me. So the reason you don't want to buy a gun like this is because it is very cheap, cheaply made, plastic internals. It's referred to as what's called an LPEG, and you might be asking yourself,
do I look like I know what an LPEG is?
Basically an LPEG is a low powered electric gun, otherwise known in the Queen's English as rubbish, at least in terms of playing real airsoft. This kind of thing is good for shooting tins in the backyard, things like that, but I probably wouldn't recommend taking one of these to a site in all seriousness. It's just not going to be adequate really, but it's a good laugh if you don't really want to get too into airsoft, you just want to have a BB gun to shoot stuff with that's electric. Yeah, this is the Xbox Crystal G36C from Black Viper. So when you are looking for your first gun, I would probably aim to spend between probably about 100 to 160 quid, but the gun you pick doesn't have to ride solely on the cost, because it's also the value and what you get for that money. I'd recommend as well that you get an AEG, or an airsoft electric gun. Basically what I mean by that is an assault rifle, and I'd probably recommend an M4 just because of how easy to use they are, parts are widely available, easy to upgrade, things like that, and the magazines are very easy to come by as well, and there's a lot of interchangeability. So I'd recommend some kind of M4/AR-15 style platform. Sniper rifles, while they look very cool, and they are very cool, I've shot one once. It's very fun to use, but for your first gun I wouldn't recommend it, because you might play Modern Warfare and be able to hit a triple collateral and free for all. But in real life, well, in real airsoft life, you have restrictions in place, which mean you have a minimum engagement distance, and that can make things a little bit boring for a new player, because you just want, if you want someone like me, you just want to be running around shooting everyone that's on the enemy team, obviously. You'll probably want something like an assault rifle, maybe an SMG. Things like shotguns and stuff are quite specialist. It's not going to be the most effective choice as well, especially if you're outdoors. It might be a laugh to have a secondary one, but for your first weapon, I think the safest bet is definitely some sort of assault rifle. Next, we're going to go and have a look at the gun that I picked for my first gun. So if you'll follow me to the magical bed of mystery, dreams and imagination, we will unbox the gun now. Just a preface, I've unboxed this gun already and I've modified this gun already. I'm going to revert it as close to stock as I possibly can without having to change parts that are a pain in the arse to change, because I'm lazy. But yeah, and as well, what you get in your box may be slightly different. Plus, because I've taken it all apart already, things might not be exactly where they were originally found, but you'll get a general idea of what you'll find in the box for this gun. So after that completely arduous journey of around 3 inches, we've made it to the bed of wonderment, amazement, dreams, imagination, unboxing, assault rifles, danger, death, blood, destruction, anger, hatred, but very much happiness as well. But yeah, so this here is the gun that I've bought. At least it's the box that the gun came in, and the gun is inside it. So if you are an idiotic Englishman like me, an English speaker, you would read this as Specimen Arms, but this is from our Polish boys, pouring out for the Polish homies. This is actually pronounced Specimen Arms Zapierdalaj. Yeah, so you'll notice it says Specimen Arms, and here is an interesting badge. We'll get into that later. So basically, XASR MOSFET gate installed. A bunch of words that will have their meanings explained later. At the minute, all you need to know is scientific technology, wizardry, electrical safety. Yeah, we'll get it open. So this unboxing is going to be extremely rubbish and isn't very representative of what your unboxing might be, just because my gun has been slightly modified, like I said earlier, and I've lost some bits like the instruction manual and the sticker sheet. I can't find them. But yeah, let's go over a quick rundown of pretty much everything that's in the box from the factory. So first thing that strikes me is this M90 spring from Specimen Arms. So what this is intended for is just for a bit more power, but when you put this in, it becomes too powerful for use on a UK site. So it's a cool addition, very nice to have that choice, but I've never used it, excuse me, and I probably never will. But very nice of them to include that. You don't get that with a lot of brands out there. Next thing is you get a unblocking device and jamming rod. That's just there in case you want to knock a BB that's jammed in the barrel. And you can also thread a small cloth through that opening there. It'll focus. It won't focus properly, but that is for shoving a little rag through down the barrel, nice and clean. Next thing is the magazine. So the magazine that comes with this is around 300 rounds, I think, off the top of my head. It's a high cap, Specimen Arms branded. Ignore that red tape, that's just to denote on my belt that this is a high capacity magazine, not a mid capacity magazine. Yours won't come with this red stripe. But basically, if you don't know how a high cap works, is you basically have a little reservoir here, pour all your BBs inside there, nice and simple. Don't need any kind of speed loader. Maybe a funnel might make things easier, but you basically just chuck all your BBs in there, close the gate, wind it, you'll hear it clicking, then it'll go clunk. At the clunk, she's full, baby, very nice. Next thing is this. So this is for that MOSFET thing I showed you earlier on the box. So This gun has a smart MOSFET, which I'll explain later on, but this card is important for understanding what's going on with that. And finally, the gun itself. In fact, finally, some cardboard. Cardboard is a very useful resource for packing things, and this is a great piece of cardboard. And shit is falling on the floor. There's silica gel on my bedroom floor now. Very nice. But within this cardboard is more things to fall on the floor. But also my rifle. So this is the Specimen Arms SAC-12. Basically, it's a very short barreled carbine. It'll be very good for close quarter engagements because it's got a nice short barrel. But yeah, this is the gun. So you can see I've made some minor modifications. So we're going to do a little discount Garand thumb thing in a moment. I'll just adjust the camera and we'll get to it. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do a bit of a discount Garand thumb. So obviously Garand thumb likes to go tip to butt. We'll go end to arse. Are you ready? So like I said, this gun has had some mods done to it. Most of the attachments and things I've put on it I've taken off again just to show you it as stock as possible. But there's some bits that I've either lost or I'm too lazy to change. So if we start at the very end, the stock gun comes with a slightly different birdcage flash hider to this, but the one that comes with it is a full metal alloy 14mm counterclockwise threaded muzzle device. Looks like a standard M4 muzzle device. I can probably get a picture and put it on screen somewhere quickly. But yeah, it comes with a nice metal flash hider. From there you've got a nice metal outer barrel as well. Plus, one of the clinchers for me when I bought it was that it's got a full metal handguard. So, full alloy handguard with a rail along the top, and it also feeds back into the upper receiver. But you've also got some M-lock mounted Picatinny rails on the sides and the bottom for other attachments that you might want to put on there. But you can take these off. I normally run the two side ones detached just to make the handguard narrower, and I run the bottom one attached with a angled foregrip on there. I might do a future video where I actually have all my gear on here and we'll talk about my setup for my gun. Moving on from there, we've got the upper and lower receivers. So they are made of polymer on this gun, but it's nylon infused polymer, which basically means in layman's terms, very strong plastic, not break. Very robust, very sturdy. But yeah, very strong. And the pistol grip, I've changed this pistol grip to, and it's a bit of a palaver to change the pistol grip, so I've just left the one that I added on there. The default one looks a bit like this, so it's just like a standard M4 pistol grip. It's perfectly serviceable. I just fancy something a bit more comfortable. Additionally, on this part of the gun, I've also installed an extended and ambidextrous magazine release. That is not standard. The standard one looks like this. Just a regular one. It's just got a little push button on the right hand side here. It's just a little oval. That's all you need to know really. And the internals, so it's got a full metal gearbox with steel cogs, and it's got a rotary hop-up unit and a 6.03mm bore barrel, so it's quite accurate. If you want to access the hop-up, you have to slide back the charging handle, and you've got the hop-up wheel in there, which you just turn to adjust the hop-up. Sorry, just a little brief cut there, just because my dog is very annoying and she likes to make loud noises when people walk outside the front of my house. Very irritating. Besides that, from where I left off then, so the sling plate here that I've added, that is not a factory part, but I added that just so I could attach a single point sling. Just makes it a bit more handleable, and if I need to let go of the gun, it'll just hang around my neck. This is what will come in place of the sling loop that I've installed. But yeah, that's just what it looks like. It would just normally go about here, where the sling loop is now. That's all. And then finally, so the stock tube, the buffer tube, which is a nice long black shaft, which a lot of people will really like, is made of the same polymer material as the receivers. So it's very sturdy. Some people might want a metal tube, but these can be replaced for a metal tube if you really want to, but To be honest, this is completely serviceable, very strong, sturdy, and I don't really think I'll change it unless it somehow breaks if I like drop Jupiter on it or something like that. And then the stock is just a standard crane stock. You'll see this on a lot of M4s out there, Airsoft M4s and real ones. Obviously an Airsoft one is slightly different because the back pops off here, and then you pull this little cover off here, and then you have these two openings here and here. That is where your battery will sit, or batteries. There's like, on a crane stock battery, there's two parts to it, so each part of the battery will go in there. And then, so obviously the battery goes in here, and then we'll just pull the stock off quickly just to show you a better view of what I'm about to show you next. So to pull one of these stocks off, if you don't know already, you basically pull this lever all the way down, and it just slides off. Very nice. But yes, if we peer down the black shaft of doom and death and destruction, you'll see here is a mini Tamiya connector for your battery, and then it feeds back. If we pull it out a bit more, oh yeah, one more thing that I forgot to add that comes in the box is a Dean's connector adapter to a mini Tamiya male adapter, so you can attach either a Dean's battery or a mini Tamiya battery to this gun. But this little doohickey here, if it will focus, see if we can get it to focus. But basically this little doodad here is the MOSFET. As far as I'm aware, MOSFETs are intended to protect the electrical circuitry. The main thing it will do is protect your trigger from arcing, which can basically ruin the contacts on your trigger, and your trigger will stop working. So that this will prevent that completely. And as well, this is a very clever little MOSFET. I'll get into that in a second. So yeah, back to this little card that we found in the box earlier. This is basically just going to tell you what is wrong with the gun using the MOSFET. The MOSFET has a little LED display on there which will tell you if there's anything wrong with the gun. So I'll just quickly list off, I'll just read this little card here. I'll put a picture on screen for you to read along, but it's basically, it'll tell you problems with the gun once you connect the battery. So first thing is, if it is 1 second a green flash and then it goes off, it is complete the self-test and there is no errors to be afraid of. If it blinks green and black, or on and off I should say, green on and off, the motor isn't connected or its brushes have worn out. If it alternates green and red, the trigger wire is connected to a negative motor wire. So basically parts have been installed wrong. Recommend you take it to a repair shop, ideally, unless you're confident enough to have a look yourself. If the light is red, the battery is either discharged, there is a short circuit, or the trigger was pulled whilst connecting the battery. And if it is red and alternating red and off, the temperature is too high and you need to basically use less than a 120 spring because the gun is starting to overheat from being overworked. So just a final couple of notes on this gun. The FPS that it shoots at with a standard spring is around 310 FPS. I don't yet have a chronograph, but hopefully I'll get my hands on one soon and I'll actually be able to test that and make sure it's actually hitting 310 FPS. But as far as now is concerned, going off the data from the website, around 310 FPS is what you'll get out of this. And one more additional thing, if you're going to buy this gun, it costs about £120 without the green two-tone from Patrol Base. But if you want the two-tone on it, if you don't have a UCAR or valid defence yet, it's just an extra £10. You've got to wait a few days and they'll paint it up for you just to make sure it's legally sold to you. But yeah, that's that. And a couple of extra things that you'll probably want to buy alongside your gun are a decent battery. I've chosen a LiPo, and make sure that you get a smart charger to go along with it. Don't use a cheap charger. And LiPos and NIM batteries use separate types of chargers, so make sure you're getting the right one. I'll include the ones that I bought in a link in the description. And another thing that isn't really to do with guns, but one thing that you must get if you enjoy having eyeballs is a decent pair of glasses. I just got these here. These are DeWalt ballistic glasses basically. These will be able to take the shot of a BB gun nice and easy, and they'll stop your eyeballs from popping. And another thing, if you don't like explaining to your friends why your mouth looks like a piano that's been dropped down the stairs, I'd recommend getting some kind of face protection, whether it's one moment, whether it's something like this or something different. But these mesh face masks are very widely used, and they'll stop your beautiful gnashes from being demolished by BB fire. So I'd really recommend one of them too. But yeah, that's the end of my first video. If there's any comments you'd like to make on what I've made, how I've made the video, sorry, or anything you'd recommend I do in the future, or any future suggestions for video ideas, please do let me know. But yeah, my first video over. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video or found it informative whatsoever. But yeah, have a nice day and thank you for watching. Goodbye.